Here we are again. It's good to be back. Hey? Oh, take a seat. Take a seat.
Thank you, Kane.
Here we are. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate it. We have Ben Maxim here, CTO of MSU FCU. Yep. We have Åsa Martinsson, who is managing the generative AI at DNB, and Nick Mitchell, CRO at boost.ai. And we are not alone, boys and girls. There's you here, there's us here. We're also live right now online on LinkedIn and YouTube. So can we give a big shout out and a big hello to everyone joining?
Wave to LinkedIn and YouTube.
We wish you were here, absolutely, because this morning's been fantastic, hasn't it? And in true Boost fashion, finding clarity, that's what we're going to do over the next half hour or so. So maybe we can start out with a few introductions, shall we? A little bit about ourselves and what we do and stuff like that. So maybe Nick will start with you, and then we'll go around the room.
You're very kind. Yes, my name's Nick Mitchell. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Boost. I've been in the conversational AI space. I was just totting it up for like 12 years. Before Boost was born, actually, in the very early days when I was working with a BPO company trying to develop software in this space. So it's been a great ride to get here. So yeah, that's my background for that.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Åsa?
Yes, my name is Åsa, working in DNB. I've been there for 10 years in different positions, omnichannel, payments, innovation venture. Came from Microsoft 10 years ago. DNB, the largest bank in Norway, around 2.5 million customers, around 10,000 employees.
Nice, brilliant.
All right, Ben Maxim, Chief Technology Officer at Michigan State University Federal Credit Union, an $8.6 billion institution in Michigan in the United States. Been there 18 years. This is still my first job out of college, so it's been kind of fun. Maybe I'll move on one day, but really enjoying it. And been doing conversational AI for at least 6 years now, most of that with Boost. So very excited to join the conversation here and talk about what we've been up to.
Nice. I'm sure that AI is going to keep you busy for at least another 18 years.
Perfect. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe it might be helpful then to kind of like build on that and share a little bit about some of the things that you're working on. Maybe it's a little bit about your journey in terms of adopting AI and stuff like that. Also, do you want to share a little bit about where did it start and where are you today?
Yeah, I can start. DNB have been working with AI for many years. I have been in this position since August last year. We started the collaboration with Boost AI in 2018. Started with INO, our chatbot for our customers. And then the year after, we started UNO, our internal chatbot for human advisors.
Nice, brilliant. How about you?
Yep. And then, we started with Fran, our member-facing chatbot, in 2018, conceptualizing, launched in 2019, and then launched our internal bot for our employees and supporting the knowledge base in 2020 as a pilot. As I moved into an innovation role at the credit union, launched Innovation Lab. It was one of the first things we tested out, kind of in that kind of formal innovation experience. Loved the experience. Moved Fran over to the Boost platform as well in 2021, later in that year. And yeah, we've been loving the Boost team ever since.
Nice, nice. Is that common, Nick, for customers to have both internal and external facing chatbots? I don't know if that's the norm, is it?
Across a fairly large percentage of our customer base, we're seeing both of those being deployed, especially if it's supporting the agent, and therefore you're answering the same questions and giving the agent the support, and it's the same data that the consumer's already engaged with. So it cuts out that duplication of effort and data and making sure that you're supplying the right information for doing that. So it's not always the case, but a large percentage of our customers are looking at both internal and external, and also making it so that then it starts to get broader as to help not just with the use case with the consumer, but with their employee experience as well.
It's interesting that, isn't it? I remember back in the day when that first kind of wave of digital transformation occurred, and organizations were moving a lot of services online, and that was kind of the perceived benefit, was that if you just get the online journey good for customers, then you in turn make the back-end journey good for agents. Was that the goal for you guys, to do what Nick was saying there, is to try and kill two birds with one stone, so to speak, or is there any differences between the internally facing stuff and the external facing stuff?
Yeah, I think we're trying to get to that symbiotic relationship where it is truly one shared brain, as we call it. So the information is coming from a common source. It's just different context and who's utilizing the information. Streamlining a better experience for employees makes it better for our members or customers. And by giving that same information in both places and giving the employees better access to the data, they're better able to help our members. They're not using all the services, they're not doing all the things themselves. Especially, we have a lot of people we've hired out of college, they may not have had a mortgage, may not have had a car loan yet. They're able to understand this from this kind of guided experience that our members are asking them questions about stuff they don't know naturally, so it gives them the opportunity to know the right information at the right time when they're being asked.
You had similar experience?
Yeah, it's the same for us in DNB, and it's so important with this seamless customer journey, and we use the same data all over across the channels, and not only the chatbots, and so the customer can solve the issues easy.
And what was the kind of journey? Did you both have like NLU solutions before, or did you go straight to generative AI?
Yeah, so based on the time we started 6 years ago, generative wasn't really a thing. So yeah, we started with natural language, and there were some capabilities that Boost had to train based on our chat transcripts and things and bring that in to give us a starting point. And they also had a trained banking model that kind of gave us the first thing. And some things we didn't think about are people are going to ask Fran about the weather and things like that. And they kind of had those answers ready to go and some jokes and stuff in there. Because people do ask bots kind of whatever they want. And that's kind of always interesting. But yeah, no, it was, that's where we started. And then we learned how to train through the platform and make it better day by day. And that's where we're at today.
And Usa, did you start with generative AI? Did you have anything beforehand?
Yeah, we started not with the generative AI, and we started with LLM last year in our external chatbot. So we have trained our chatbot a lot with LLM, and the satisfaction is also great. So we are going forward. But I feel the pressure for the speed. Both internal and external.
Yeah, that must be interesting from your perspective, Nick, perhaps, because I've come across examples and worked on examples of projects that have just taken forever for one reason or another in 2018, 2019, 2020. And sometimes it feels as though, an organization kind of wants to do it, but there's barriers in place, data connectivity, this, that, and the other, it just takes forever. Whereas now it seems as though there is just urgency all over the place. Is that the case? I mean, Sage, what was that? 34 working days to
34
deploy?
working days, yeah.
And that's like, obviously, Boost want to deploy as fast as you can, but you need the partnership with a customer for them to want to move at the same sort of speed. So what are you seeing in terms of the time and urgency to get stuff out there? Are you noticing the same sort of thing?
There's always and it is a fear around the technology and the generative AI and what could it do for brand reputation. So there are AI audit committees to establish and get through those sorts of processes, human processes, to validate things that are working correctly. But it's our job as Boost to give the tools that give the protection and make it easy to deploy that. And we're quite a long way down the line on that now. And then, as you've seen from all of the discussions today, it's about drive and desire to drive the right brand experience, because it's not about the technology. It's really about the experience that the brands. I mean, Fran is now becoming the brand persona for MSU, and same for IKNOW, right? That this is in the future that there will be a conversational AI interface, and that will be the main brand entry point for all of the consumers. And we're moving down that now. So those organizations that are leading that, it's really exciting to be working with those. And we're continuing to evolve and deliver the tools that make it safe to do it quickly.
I remember, so my sort of like pedigree in this space comes from Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant, 2017, 2018, the good old days. And I remember that at the time, Capital One in the US, they really heavily invested in Alexa. They had this assistant called Eno, and they kind of went with that total omni-channel approach really early. They had Eno on Alexa. They had Eno when you call the contact center, hi, I'm Eno. They had Eno answering emails, and they were very close to making that sort of vision come to life, which is that, for a new Capital One customer, it might be that most of your interactions are with Eno, and so at what point does Capital One become Eno? At what point does MSU
FC. Yes, all good. No, there's a lot of letters.
It is a lot of letters in that. At what point does Fran become the brand? And it's an interesting sort of concept, because then, with Capital One's example, the technology wasn't really there, whereas now the technology is far better.
Yep.
So, but part of doing that right is to create good experiences. And so, what is it that you have to do in that process of, utilizing this technology that has almost boundless creativity, but at the same time you want it to be brand aligned, but you want the experience to be great. So, how do you sort of like go about making sure that the experience of using Fran, what was yours called again?
I know.
I know.
Fran and I know. How do you make sure that the experience of using those assistants is really great? Also,
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's so important to testing, failing fast, user experience, stuff like that. And as you mentioned, it's not only the technology, it's the integration, it's the data, APIs, how it need to be easy, the user experience. So I totally agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what Capital One got right back then was, they had disparate systems, they didn't work together, but they used that brand, Eno, to make it seem like it was one thing, even though there was a different email system and a different call center system and all that. But now the technology's advanced enough where all those things are talking together. There's unified communication systems, and being able to put that experience in place, whether it's a voice channel, text, or in the future, your digital interface, just like when we all go to the internet, we start with Google, type in stuff there, that's our gateway in. We want Fran to be our gateway into our experience with MSU FCU, and now Google's got Gemini kind of leading everything. Are you even going to scroll past that to get to the search results? We want people to start with Fran. I think we also experimented with doing a Alexa voice bot back in 2016, 2017, and people weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
People are now more comfortable. You see everyone talking to ChatGPT on their phones all the time, whether they're typing in or speaking to it. I think that's just going to be ubiquitous moving forward. People are just going to talk to the room. And maybe just a personal story, when we were early adopters of Alexa, and my 3-year-old went over to our grandparents' house and started asking Alexa to turn the lights on and play the Frozen soundtrack. And Alexa didn't follow us over there, so I don't know what happened, but she just kind of expected to talk to the world around her, and things happen.
Yeah. My son is like that. He says, he doesn't say, can you search for something? He'll say, can I ask your phone? Is what he'll say, can I ask your phone about it? So it's just natural for him. Which, I think customer behavior is changing, but it must require some changes for you internally to be able to, develop the maturity and the skill sets to utilize this technology. So, what does it look like from a sort of like resource and team perspective? We heard from Kevin earlier on at Sage about how important it was for them to have the right people in the right positions before doing something. How has that evolved for you over the last sort of like couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started, it was kind of a part-time gig for people to come in and train the bot and make sure that accuracy score. There's a lot of feedback mechanism built into the platform. So if you get a lot of thumbs down, we can see, hey, this one's failing in terms of response. What can we do with that? So we had a small team of kind of people doing it as part-time work. Those people come from service areas. They don't come from technology or IT. And that was one lesson we learned early on, that this is not really a technology project. It is an experience project. It's a service project. So getting those team involved, they're the ones who actually talk to our customers, our members, making sure they're the ones able and capable of making sure that the responses are there, because they're doing it in real time all day long. So we now have a team of 2. That way someone can go on vacation if they want to. Probably can manage it with one person each day. But there's enough ability with that team to be able to expand the offering as we move forward as well.
Nice. What's your sort of team?
Yeah, what a change. In my team, we have AI trainers, product owner, product manager. But it's so necessary to work across in DNB, internal, the tech team, the data team, the channel team. So we can't work in silos. We need to be transparent and sharing, and also involving the right people. And also get support from the top management, what kind of strategy are we aiming for, and our targets.
And so the interesting thing about both of the use cases is the thousands of topics that are available for their consumers to engage with. We're not talking of a few hundred. we're talking 3,000 to 5,000 different topics, which is incredible with those sizes of teams to manage that you have to provide that experience, because if the customer asks you for something you don't know the answer, they're going to lose faith in the engagement. But the topics are all there to discuss all of these things and things that aren't necessarily there. But it's a really important figure to understand that you have to go broad around all of those contact reasons that the consumer wants to engage you with.
Yeah. And I think maybe it kind of like, it surfaces the importance of things like content management, which before in the NLU days was kind of like, you had content managers over here, they were doing the website, the chatbot teams over here doing the chatbot, kind of like copying and pasting some of the stuff from over here, over there, and it's all a bit disparate and stuff like that. Whereas now, because these models are, powerful enough to be able to ingest quite a lot of content, vast amounts of content, do you have people now whose kind of role it is specifically just to look after content, make sure it's current, make sure it's updated, that kind of thing? Is there more importance on content for you now, or?
Yeah, of course. And in a bank, we need a trust from a customer, and we need to collaborate. And we also need to have the same information in all our channels. So, of course, yes.
Yeah, so we're talking about how do we bring and have the same data feeding the website, feeding a mobile app, feeding any future digital channel or whatever else this information needs to go to, including the bots, making sure it's strong and accurate. And we do have teams focused on that content. I think what's great, yes, we now are at 3,000 or 5,000 intents for ourselves through the natural language part, but there are still things that people are going to ask, and we did build that up over time. So if you think you have to build 5,000 intents today, you don't have to. You can start with a few hundred and then grow and see what your customers ask and then kind of prioritize those. In a highly regulated industry, there are some things that we don't want to go through the LLM, so we have this great opportunity to do this hybrid mode, but the LLM version gives you more coverage and all that content, especially if it's coming from the same source. It's able to create that content, and you could also go as far as having that generate content for the website, the bot, everywhere else as well.
How important is it for Boost to have that kind of hybrid approach? Because it seems as though, I was literally having a conversation over lunch about how I actually think that whether it's kind of like understood now, I don't know, but I think it will be understood in the next few years, which is that generative AI, as we've heard much of today, is brilliant for some things, but it's not brilliant for absolutely everything.
Yep.
And so when you want more control, or you have to have specific responses, you need that sort of hybrid type of approach. So where do you see the conversation with customers? Is everyone like Gen AI at all costs, or is there an appreciation for more diligent experience design that uses the best of all technologies available?
I would say in the main, it's across both NLU and generative. We do get some requests for information proposals to write that are just pure generative, but most people want a balance. And again, we respond to what the market is demanding. When generative AI came out, everyone was like, what are you doing about generative AI? So we responded very quickly to that and built some great technology. But again, it's the market response. So brand experience, and coming back to it, is the most important thing. We provide all of the tools to allow you to do that and manage the security and safety of your data while you're doing that. We are seeing a very steep rise in generative engagement, consumer-facing as well as back-end building and testing. So as people are becoming more comfortable with it and the tools are getting better, then it is going to rapidly take over. But it's important to be able to manage, even if there's just a few transactions that you want to do slightly different, it's important to be able to do that.
The whole kind of concept, and we've alluded to it a little bit here, the whole conversation around data and data governance and data management and data literacy in an organization wasn't really something that was spoke about greatly in the NLU world. There's training data, but most people were like, oh, the training data is easy, we'll just make some up, and it's like it's a hidden problem because it's over here somewhere. Whereas now it seems as though the conversation around data governance and all that kind of stuff is much more of an active conversation, which is great. So in your situations, has generative AI and your use of generative AI changed anything organizationally in terms of your data governance policies and things like that?
Yeah, so I think we've been on a data journey for decade plus, and really trying to figure out what is the governance, enforcing some of the data quality, and just making sure inputs are validated before they even get in there. And we spent a lot of time cleaning it up. I think there's been a lot of investment from a number of companies, industries to do that across the board, and converging with all the LLMs coming up. I think we've kind of hit this ripe opportunity to continue to focus on that, because again, everyone's heard the phrase garbage in, garbage out. The more junk data you put in, you're not going to be able to do the things you want to do, and you're going to have to then go and manually train all 5,000 intents to get to that level. Having the generative and making sure it's strong gives you the opportunity to also go beyond just here's the answer for everyone, but you can get to that pure hyper-personalization that everyone's excited about, that Amazon and Netflix does well, where you could generate different imagery, different graphs, different charts for that unique person who's interacting with Fran, versus like, here's the answer for everyone that interacts and asks that question.
We heard a little bit earlier on about kind of, I think it was Sage again, we were talking about doing a lot of multivariate testing. I think that's a really interesting space for generative AI, because, you mentioned Netflix. Netflix, sometimes they run up to 1,000 different tests at any one time. So when you open up Netflix, what you see in Netflix is entirely different to what I see in Netflix. Even if we're seeing the same films and the same series, you might see different thumbnails to what I see. So if you've recently watched a film with John Travolta in it, then when you see a thumbnail for Pulp Fiction, yours might show you John Travolta. Whereas if I've recently watched a film with Uma Thurman in it, mine might show me Uma Thurman, or so on and so on. So they do so many little experiments to optimize the interaction. And in conversational AI, those levels of experiments have always been a little bit of a nightmare to do. Set them up, run them, analyze them. But I think that's an area where generative AI can potentially help, is if it can realize through analyzing its conversations that there's a bottleneck here, I'm going to run something to see if I can fix it. I'm not saying we're necessarily there yet, but like, I think how important is it to have that, test and learn mentality, rather than it's launched, it's done, and we're finished.
Yeah. Data is a hot topic internally.
Yeah.
So, of course, testing a lot. And I think it's a hot topic now because we are integrated with different systems, in CXM, CRM, traffic center. We have a lot of customer data, transaction data. How can we use it in a good way?
Is that a conversation you have? I imagine that's a conversation you're having more and more, is data integrity, data governance.
Data integrity is, but there's also the flip side is lots of organizations actually have a lot of really good data, but there's never an ability to expose it in a really consumable way, right? Even the tax authority in Norway, Skatteetaten, all of that data and knowledge is there, and it was beholden on a human in the background to sort of work it out and give it to the, or it's beholden, Tour Radar, a great customer of ours, thousands and thousands of tours across the world. They want to be able to pick the right ones really quickly in the conversation and give them back to the customer. So it's not just about making sure that the data's right. It's also, there is data there. It's about exposing it quickly and easily in the right way so that the consumer doesn't have trouble finding it, and they get the information that they need in the way they need it quickly. So again, it comes back to the drive and what you're trying to achieve with your organization. But a lot of times we find the data's there. It's just about positioning it in the right place, and then it's fairly straightforward to expose it.
Yeah, it's that kind of 4Ds, isn't it, which I know Cobus talks about quite a bit, which is the data discovery, firstly, data design, secondly, getting it into the right kind of format, data delivery, which is kind of what you were getting at there, how do we get it into the conversations, into the interactions to be useful, and then data development is how do we make sure that it's kept up to date, kept kind of like in a fit state over time, so it's, it's interesting. Have there been any particular challenges over this journey that you've been through in getting Gen AI up and running and ready? We spoke about experience, we spoke about data. Where are for those that haven't kind of been through that yet, where are the gremlins hiding?
Sure. Yeah, maybe one of the biggest ones. We talked about governance a little bit earlier, and I think a lot of people have stopped and not even gone forward with pursuing LLMs. They've shut it off at their organization. No one can use ChatGPT. We're not going to even go down this path because we're scared about where the data is going to go. I think people when we started having our governance meetings and our risk team flagged it and our legal team, we had a couple meetings where we pulled a kind of executive level group together to look at it. And after a meeting, we realized we already have what was the concern was stuff that's already been protected because we have data on the internet. 15 years ago, we were all afraid that we're all walking around with these smartphones with our banking data on them. Now we don't think another thing of it. We're sending money back and forth. We're tapping. We're doing all kinds of stuff, with these phones, and we actually consider them to be more secure than computers at some point. So AI is just another iteration of data and the internet and how it's being utilized. So all these policies we had in place, privacy policies, acceptable use policies for employees, different things, they apply here as well. And it really became a focus on how do we want to utilize and teach best practices to our employees and make sure, that if we're bringing in new vendors, if we can, let's evaluate what they're using in the background and how are they protecting the data. But we need to do that regardless whether they're using AI or not, because we're talking a lot about AI now. 5 years from now, it's just probably happening, and we don't have the broad, oh, this is AI and it's scary. It's already happening. We don't know it's happening.
Did you face any particular challenges, also?
Yeah, it can be. Of course, we're testing a lot with our AI trainers, but challenging maybe the expectation from the management and also the expectation from the customer and the speed. So we need to test it out quickly and get out in the market.
Are there any other challenges, Nick, that you've observed?
I'm not sure that there are, apart from what's already been outlined. I mean, our job is thanks to our wonderful customers, to share the stories. And the results, what we're seeing is that getting past the challenges and getting it into production are driving results that are worth it. And so we need to keep sharing those stories and keep iterating and innovating and delivering those results, and then service gets better. So
nice. And is there anything you can share in terms of the results and the outcomes that you've achieved over? I mean, you've been doing it for a long while. Like, is there anything you can share in terms of what you've achieved, outcomes and stuff like that?
Sure, absolutely. So our member-facing chatbot, Fran, she's able to take on a monthly basis up to 65 FTEs worth of volume, and that's a 24/7 volume as well. So we have a call center and team that's staffed only a certain number of hours a day. So she is able to handle a lot of that work in the after hours, and we're able to understand what our members need at 2 or 3 in the morning when they're trying to make a transaction that failed. And another thing that we're really proud of recently, so we have Fran in front of all our chats, and then 79% of those are contained by Fran and don't need to go to a live agent as well. So that automation is working. We're able to then utilize those employees to have deeper conversations, more meaningful conversations, and then upskill some of them to go to other areas.
Nice, that's good. That's really good results.
I can mention we won different prizes for our chatbots. In January, we won the best chatbot, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for external, and also Juno won last year. So we have done a lot, and a lot of conversations, and we have saved a lot of working hours.
Nice. One of the things, I saw a report, a really good report from BCG last year, and it kind of forecasted that in the next X years, I think it was by 2030 or so, that AI will end up essentially completely removing tier 1 contact, right? And it also predicted in its little crystal ball, I don't know where they get these predictions from, but they make for good conversation, don't they? It also suggested that the size of the contact center is going to decrease because there's less requirement for those tier 1 agents. And then thirdly, the role of the contact center will change because people that work there will be spending less time on day-to-day doing of the thing and more time on more strategic initiatives like continuous improvement, managing and maintaining the AI solutions and stuff like that. So the general kind of consensus from that report was that contact center size in terms of headcount decrease, contact center function in terms of value to the business increase because they're spending more time on more strategic efforts. Does that seem to tally right with your experience? 75% resolution, you know, does that seem to tally right? Is that the way that you're thinking about operational, like operating models and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think absolutely, and I think you're getting a different and needing to attract a different level of employee to come in as well. You're not getting someone that's going to answer basic questions that they can just read off a script. They need to have a different skill set of being able to troubleshoot and problem solve with your customer as well. So you're going to look for them, and then also AI can be utilized to go through transcripts and different things to then improve the business overall and get more out of that feedback that's coming in that channel.
Nice. Is it having an impact for you?
Yeah, we already see that in our customer service, but we will always have human advisors for the more complex questions. So we're working for the easiest one that you can manage through our chatbot, and more complex are going over to the human.
Great. Are you observing the same thing with customers?
Yeah, we talk about the valuable and the vulnerable. So you get to spend more time with both of those categories as a brand.
Yeah.
And again, looking at the brand experience overall, those are the sorts of things that you really want to focus on and differentiate as the brand experience. So yeah, valuable and vulnerable.
Nice,
There
I
you
like
go.
that. The 2 Vs.
The 2 Vs.
Framework
There you
in
go. The
there.
4 Ds, the 2 Vs. You've got now, Kane.
Nice. All right, we're just at one time. Maybe quickly, one thing each that you are excited about in terms of AI over the next 12 months.
Yep, absolutely. So what does agentic actually do for us? You know, I think being able to do more with the bot instead of answering questions, what can you actually accomplish and do to further automate the middle and back office processes?
Nice. Also?
Agents is very interesting, and also external agent, how we can collaborate. We own a part of VUX Mobile Pay, and also Fremtind, that's the insurance company, how we can collaborate more. For example, share competence. That
Good
would be
idea.
interesting.
Agent to agent.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Nick?
Well, for me, it's the brand that gets there with the first brand that's got the conversational interface into the brand.
Yeah.
That's what and hopefully it's someone in this room in
well
the not
be.
too distant future. So
well
yeah,
be.
that's the really exciting bit.
Nice. I'm with you. I agree. Nice one. Well, thank you so much, Ben, Åsa, Nick. Round of applause, please, for our guests, and a big shout out to those tuning in online. Thank you very much. It's been great.